Thanks for joining us for this COVID-19 briefing for Wednesday, August 11th. We will start with today's numbers between Merit Health Wesley and Forest General. There are 161 people who have tested positive for COVID, and this is, again, another record that we've set this week, and not the good kind. Of those 161, we have 33 people who are in the ICU, and just to show you in comparison to where we've been with other spikes throughout this pandemic, as you can see, the first spike happened in the middle of July, early August, where we got to just over 100. Then, of course, between Christmas and New Year's and the early part of this year, we got to, I think, 117 was the max. You can see that we've shattered that record a couple of times now, and it continues to go up without any sort of bend in the curve coming, which is very bad news for us as we move forward. So, of those 161 hospitalized, only 23 are fully vaccinated. So that's 14%, which means 86% of the people in the hospital right now were unvaccinated. Of the 33 in the ICU, again, this is both hospitals combined, only 3 were fully vaccinated. So 91% of the people in the ICU were unvaccinated. And then of the 18 on ventilators this morning, none were fully vaccinated. Deaths, this was a tough one to get this morning. Since Monday's briefing, we've had 5 new deaths in Forest County, bringing the total to 168. We've had 1 additional death in Lamar County, bringing the total to 92. New cases today, Forest County had 107. This is, I think, the 7th day in a row they've been over in the low to mid 90s, and I think out of those 7 days, at least 5 of those have been over 100. Lamar County actually had a bit of a decrease, only 47 new cases, still a high number though. In the inside 14-day number, this is the number of people who have tested positive in the last 2 weeks. Gives you an idea of how many potential active cases we have in our community right now. In Forest County, that number is now at 1,431. Lamar County, 1071. That number, 2,500 in our metro area have tested positive in the last 2 weeks. Vaccination updates. Forest County, the fully vaccinated number now stands at 21,107. That's 28%. But then there's 6% who have received 1 dose. One of the few positive things that happened today, been an increase of 346 people who have gone in since Monday to get their first dose. In Lamar County, even better, 40% of the population there is now fully vaccinated, with another 10% who have received 1 dose, and they've actually had an increase of 576 people who have gone in to get their first dose since Monday. This morning we had our weekly conference call, and again, this is the call that we have had every week since March of 2020, and this includes all of our healthcare leaders, our local elected officials, emergency management, our universities, our school districts, and obviously it was a very sobering call with a lot of bad news. And in addition to all the statistics I just gave you, I want to give you just a few kind of key points that I took away from this morning's call. First, hospital beds are at capacity. Now, earlier in the year we talked about capacity a lot, and that's the number of acute beds and number of ICU beds that are available as of a certain time in the morning. There's 3 things that go into capacity. There's the space, the actual bed. There's the stuff, the equipment, such as the ventilators, and then there's the staffing, which is the hardest part right now for our hospitals. And so, as of this morning, Forest General was at capacity as of 8 a.m. There were no available acute beds, and all of the ICU beds were spoken for. For example, Forest General has about 50 ICU beds that they have on a regular basis. When 48 of them were filled, but there were 4 major heart surgeries happening today where those people are going to end up in the ICU. And so they were already over capacity. There were several people waiting in the ER for a bed, and they were just keeping them in the emergency room. Merit had a similar situation. A couple of acute beds were available, but 0 ICU beds. And so the narrative that you hear that the state is full, the ICU beds are full, that's true. Now, as the day goes on, do people discharge? Yes. But what we've also seen in this spike is that the ERs are being flooded with COVID patients who eventually end up in the hospital. And so whatever you discharge, you typically take in throughout the afternoon and evening as people come into the ER. Delta variant is affecting younger patients. This is something we've known. Just a few statistics. Last week, just in the Hattiesburg Clinic system, there were 114 people between the ages of 0 and 9 who tested positive. And between the ages of 10 and 19, there were 173 children who tested positive. That's more than at any point during this pandemic. Furthermore, we're starting to see some of those children's cases become more severe. For example, this morning, there is a newborn at Forest General Hospital with COVID. There is an 18-year-old at another hospital that's in there with COVID. There's a 26-year-old in the ICU with COVID. This is not your, we talked last year when COVID began that the vulnerable populations were underlying health conditions and people over the age of 60, 65. It's not the case anymore because the average age in the hospital right now is in that 50 to 55 range. Now, it could be worse, but thankfully a lot of our seniors have gone and gotten vaccinated. But if you're a high school student, if you're a college student, a young professional, this is affecting you, and it's having severe health impacts on people. And you need to do what you can do to protect yourself, both in how you carry yourself and masking and avoiding large crowds, but also going ahead and getting your shot because you too can end up like this if we're not careful. Third thing, schools are already surpassing their infection totals from last year. For example, one school district, 5% of its student population had tested positive in the first 2 weeks, which matched the entire total from last school year. Now, our schools are doing the right thing. They're mandating masks. Our private schools are mandating masks. But a lot of these infections are happening during non-school hours, either in evenings or weekend social gatherings. And what's happening is, students are transmitting it to one another, and they're taking it home, and their whole household is getting infected, which means parents, students, we need you to be more careful. We need you to know that you can take this and pass it to someone who will not get over it. And that really needs to inform decisions we make in terms of if we have gatherings over the next few weeks. And finally, this is going to get worse in the coming weeks. When you look at, for example, Hattiesburg Clinic had a record number of people test positive last week. That was the second week in a row they set a record. The positivity rate between 30 and 33%, with 88% of those testing positive that were unvaccinated. A large portion of those folks are going to end up in the hospital in the ICU. It's going to continue to crowd out. I mean, the one solution in all of this is that people go and get their shot. Once you get your shot, wear your mask when you go out. Avoid large gatherings because the Delta variant is more contagious and it is more deadly, and we need you to take care as you move forward. Testing reminders, in addition to all the Merit Health Wesley clinics and the Hattiesburg Clinic and Semri, there is testing at the Forest County Health Department. That's Monday through Friday. You have to make an appointment at covidschedule.umc.edu. Those are booking up a day in advance, and they're trying to find a larger location, which maybe they can expand some appointments. But that's available also Wednesday and Saturday at Seton Community Center. Those are free tests as well. One vaccine opportunity that's coming up, in addition to all the other vaccine opportunities that you have access to each and every day, Pastor Siggers at Mount Olive Baptist Church is hosting a vaccine clinic from 1 to 3 p.m. this Saturday at the church on Country Club Road. There's no cost to the patient. They'll have the J&J vaccine as well as the Pfizer vaccine. We were out yesterday passing out flyers, but we need you to share this as well. If you know someone, especially in that South Hattiesburg area, that has not gotten their vaccine, go to Mount Olive this Saturday, 1 to 3, get your shot. And finally, our act of courage. This week also marks the annual celebration of National Health Center Week. It's a celebration of our federally qualified health centers. Semri is our FQHC here in our area. They cover 5-county area. They have 18 different clinics. They do an incredible job of providing access to those who have limited means, who may not have access to primary care. They've been especially helpful during this pandemic, having places that you can get tested 7 days a week. Also, like this morning, we were at the Family Health Center over on Old Airport Road, and there was already a line for both testing and a line for vaccines. And so to Dr. Geraldine Dice and all of the staff that work there, we thank them for their commitment to health care in our area. As we continue in the week, remember to wash your hands, take care of yourself, wear a mask when you're around others, get your vaccine, most of all, be kind. Take care. We'll see you soon.